Okay, I'm working on my 2004 Pontiac Grand Prix here today. We're going to be replacing this front driver's fender, and I can show you it's got a little damage here and it had been fixed a little bit, but it still just doesn't look real good. You can see where also got part of my bumper, but I was able to get another fender, and it's not perfect, but it doesn't have any big dents and stuff in it, so it's nice and straight. Maybe a few scratches. It's the exact match of the paint that I have as well, and that's a good way to find them. Now you can buy these online. I know they have them on eBay. I think a little over $200 you can get a pre-painted fender, but this one here I got for less than $50 at a salvage yard we have. So I'm going to go ahead and be replacing this. You know, if you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. And as always, I invite you to subscribe. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to get started on is these little bolts. I'm using a 9/32 on this. A 7mm probably work as well. But we are going to get all of these bolts that are holding this little inner fender well piece. You can see we got some here, we got some down here, and maybe some underneath there. We got them running around through here, holding that, this one, and there's some, like there's one back over in here. So we got another one here. So we're gonna run and take our little ratchet that'll reach in there and take all these little bolts holding this inner flap here. That's going to be our first step. Okay, so we've taken, I've counted 10 of these little 9/32 out of here all together, and this is loose, and this just kind of pushes from out behind. You just give it a little push and it will wiggle itself out. You shouldn't have to give it much push at all, or you still got something connected somewhere, so you don't want to tear it up. Just kind of wiggle it out of there, and we'll just pull it right over the wheel there. Okay, now I want to show you where there's a couple of bolts down here we're going to get to. Now on this rocker panel, we don't need to take this off. It's snapped in here. We don't want to mess with any of this stuff and run the risk of breaking it, but you can see we can pull enough right here to get in here, and all I'm doing is getting to these two bolts right here with a little 10mm. I'm just using a little ratchet. We're going to get those two completely out, and we'll be able to slip this fender out of here without removing this. Now there are some clips like this that all you do, I pry down this first one, is the only one I need. It just pries out of this little slot right here. It enables me to slide it just for that little bit of slack, and I've just pulled it back that little bit. That's all I need right here. And so I'm going to go ahead, remove these two lower ones and get them out of the way. Okay, with those lower two, we're going to take note of this insulated piece here, and we're going to well, it looks like it's pretty well hung in there on this bolt right now. We'll go ahead and get up here on this 10mm right here, and that's I'm just going to use my little ratchet that I have for that as well. Let's go ahead and get that one and work our way up. Okay, now we have that bolt out, and take note of this reveal. You know, we're going to put this back the same when we get this back together. So this little piece here will actually come out. Just need to put it back, but we can get that out of the way. Just set that aside for now. Okay, so we open up our door. We're gonna look right in here, right there. We got a 10 millimeter that we got to get to. Now we're just gonna use an extension. You'll just get in here and open your door the right way and just get in there with an extension and just take that loose. Okay, so here is my extension, and you can see I've got like a foot or so here. We've got the door just slightly open, and we're just going right in here. Just be careful and don't bang up any of your inside stuff here. But just so move the door to where you need it, where you can get a good hold to this thing, 'cause it'll be pretty tight. And just get it loose and work it out of there. If you have trouble getting at this bolt here that's inside, you can also, an alternate way is to get a little wrench and come with the door open and carefully get in here and take it loose a little bit at a time. So that's if you can't do it the other way. Okay, and with that bolt out, we're going to go ahead and pop the hood here and work on some of these bolts up under the hood here now. Okay, and for now, we're just going to work on getting these 10 millimeters. And we've got one here that's going to have to come out because this headlight is clipped to this as well. We're just going to work on getting these bolts here for now, and then we're going to focus our attention back up here underneath the bumper and getting some other stuff loose. Okay, so after getting a few of those up there, I've come back down here to the bottom. We've got these little 9/32. There's two of them right here. We got to get this bumper loose. So we're going to take these first, and then I'm going to show you which ones we're going to get next. Okay, so we're going to, with those out, going to come in here to the inside, and there we've got a couple of bolts that are right on here. These are going to be 10 millimeters on this little metal strap holding the bumper here. So we got the ones on the bottom. Now we're going to get these right here and try to free this here up. Okay, so with those out, this drops down. Now this was the 10 that went on the back. That's not supposed to be loose like that, but it is. And it had this one that went back here holding this back part. So there's just the two. So a little bolt, and then the nut that goes on this that's not doing any good because this thing's spinning loose in here. So we need to figure out how to remedy that. Okay, up here you just got these plastic push pins. Just pop these up. So just push that up right like that. We'll be able to pop this top, and these just come completely out once they're popped up like so. And we should be able to start getting some slack here. Okay, I just went ahead and popped those other two to give a little more slack. And the bolt right down in here underneath this light that you can see, it's another 9/32. What we're using is a extension, and you don't have to take that out. You just need to loosen it up. It just slips down on there. but I'm just using an extension. I got a little swivel and just went right down in there and got that loose enough. Okay, I stand corrected. You pull this tab up and this will release this. We don't need to get that bolt down there. Now this thing broke previously, so this was hung up down in there, so I'm going to have to work on replacing that. But that will release the headlight as far as that goes. We're just going to disconnect our harnesses here, and actually we may just be able to set it out of our way without disconnecting a whole lot. But actually we did have to take that loose because we have to slide this up, but as far as getting the headlight out, you didn't have to. But now we can pick this up and pull it over that nub right there. But you can pull your light out first. But this thing here, see, it was broken and previously glued back together, and it's not doing its job anymore. But you can see how that slides down into there and holds that light. But this thing is supposed to pull up and release it, and then it'll push down to lock. But I'm going to have to get a replacement for that, and that just holds on that nub that you see right here. So you just pulls up and it'll release that, and then you got these alignment pins that are going in like right here to hold it. So anyways, this down here you can loosen after you take the light out instead of doing it the way I did it, and it'll probably make it a little easier though. And that'll give you the slack. Lift it up and over that and just leave it loose, because we're going to have to do the very same thing. So now we've got a 10 millimeter, like I said, the pin head right there. We need to get a deep socket and get that off. Okay, and there's that little special nut that has the pin on the end of it. Okay, so right now we've just got down here. There's a 10 millimeter right here that we're removing. And once we get this, we're going to move back up top here. Like I said, this is just down here on this little bracket. Okay, now I want to show you something about the way this is made here. This hinge is actually going to be tack welded on to your old fender. Now there's a spot you can see right there at the end of my finger. That's going to have to be drilled through from the underside of that fender to get it to release from this hinge. So what we're going to do is, we're just, to make things easier, I'm going to have to remove my shock here because it's attached to this, but we're going to take and remove these here from the hood. I'm going to support this hood. I'm going to get something back here, some wood, keep it from moving, and we're going to support it. We're going to just take these loose, and I'm just going to swap it over. But now what you would have to do is take it loose and remove it and transfer it over to your new fender. Now we're also going to have to take these bolts right here, these two. But the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to get something to support my hood, and we'll go ahead and work on trying to get this shock off of here, and then we'll probably go ahead and remove these right here, and then we'll work on removing these. Okay, now this, I've just popped this bottom one loose because I don't need to take the top, but it's just got a little clip right there that you just pry that out and it'll just release. You can see how it just pops in there. Like I said, just pry that clip out and it just pops right loose off of that ball. And I just need to remove that one. Now let me show you on this other fender what I'm talking about. This here is where the tack weld is, and you can see when I got this from the salvage yard, this whole hinge was attached like this. So I'm just going to leave this and just reuse the whole thing and just transfer it over versus, but if you, on yours, if you get an aftermarket fender, you're going to have to transfer, so you'll just drill. This is a hardened weld, so you'll need a good drill. You'll need to drill that tack weld out to remove that. Otherwise you need to cut this or something, or grind it off. But anyways, you need to get that either ground off or drilled out, and you'd have to transfer this over to your new fender. But for whatever reason, they tack weld those on there, so we have to remove. And you see I've got some blocks here holding it now. You'll also want to prop your hood up. Now my shocks are brand new, so one will hold this thing no problem, so I won't have any issue there. But you definitely want to make sure that you got something to support your hood and be safe. So what I'm going to do now that this is out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and remove these two bolts here. Okay, and these are 13s, by the way, and these up here are going to be 13 millimeters as well. And you definitely want, like I said, be safe, prop your hood up if you're not going to remove it, and make sure that you're safe with it, or get you a helper. Okay, so now we're just removing these 13s that are holding the hinge to the hood here at this point. Okay, now this one actually was not attached. See, somebody had already removed that. So yours will be attached though if it hasn't been messed with. But the one is welded on my other fender, so I'm not going to worry about it. See where somebody had already removed that. Guess they had worked on it before. Okay, so we should have everything loose at this point. And so we should be able to slide it out of this rocker panel here. I may have to get down there with my other hand and wiggle it a little bit and pull that down just slightly. Okay, so I was able to wiggle that around this rocker panel. Like I said, no sense in having to remove all that. It's just going to be more stuff to have to probably fix, because a lot of times those snaps break. So here it is, completely bare. And now we're just going to take our replacement and wiggle it into place, and so get past that little rocker panel piece there first, and then work it back up here into place where we need it. Okay, so we wiggled it back into place, and we're just going to loosely put all of our bolts. We're starting with these up here on this hinge, and we're just going to put all of our bolts kind of loosely into place before we go to tighten anything, to make sure we've got this gap and everything lined up just right. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and reinstall our bolts for our hinge here. Just kind of loosely line everything up. Everything will move on you, so it's going to have to be realigned, readjusted. We're just going to kind of hand snug everything. Okay, so we got these bolts loosely in for our hinge. We just popped our shock back into place. We've got these couple of short bolts. One goes here, and this has to line up or you won't get these into place very well. We got another one here, and then we got our special little pin bolt that goes right down here at this front support, slips over. Okay, getting ready to put this little bolt right down here on this. Just got to line that up a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to get back up in here and replace this and then we'll get on the other side and get the other one through the other way. Okay, now the bolt that goes back behind here, when you're sliding this door, or this when you're sliding this fender into place, make sure that that tab that you see goes on this side of that little flange, because it may try to go on the back side of it, and then you'll have to pop some bolts back loose, and make sure that that goes on this side of this flange. Otherwise, when you go to bolt it, it won't be able to bolt it to it. Okay, so now we're just going to get out here and work on these lower ones that go in here, and we'll get those into place and lightly tighten them down. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through and snug all my bolts. I've got it where I want it. I got a little more of a gap here, but without modifying those holes on the bottom right here. I'm not going to be able to move it anymore, so I'm just going to leave that for now. Okay, with all of our bolts snugged up, we're going to slip this support back over this pin here. And then we've got the long bolt, this one that goes down in through here. Go ahead and get that back into place. Okay, now we're going to just slip our light back into place here. I didn't even unhook it. We got the pin. And don't forget to tighten your bottom 9/32 down there, by the way. We're just going to slide this in, and then this slides right in through here, and then that locks it, which mine's broken. Okay, so again, you got your pin here, you got your pin here, one pin goes into there, one goes into there, and then this slides into there, and it just kind of locks it into place. So watch all of your pins as you're putting this together. Make sure they go into place. Okay, with that popped into place, we're just going to push our bumper back up here a little bit onto where our clips go, and it should just pop right back into place. We're going to get all of these little clips, and we're just going to start pushing them back into where they go here. Okay, with the light back in, we're ready to start snugging this bumper back into place. I put that little pin back in here, just kind of goes in there like that. We slip it into that slot, and then get our back 10mm bolt into place. This one here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to go ahead and snug that back nut up on there. We'll get in here, and we'll put this bolt in the back part as well. Okay, so with this refastened with them two bolts, we're just under here. We're going to get these two little screws holding it to this plastic piece here. And we get down here, we're going to move on to our fender well piece. Okay, now we're moving on to this. We should have our 10 little bolts. The big washered ones go on the outer parts of the fender. By the way, put your little piece of foam back in there. I hadn't done that. It just kind of hooks in there. Just going to set this into place, and it kind of goes in back behind these lips here. So I'm going to need both of my hands to get this worked into place. Okay, and sometimes it's best to get a few of these started because it'll just keep popping out of place on you. Okay, now I'm just going to be working some of these in that are up inside of the fender well, and you just kind of have to look for them. Okay, so we just got that inner fender shroud fastened back down, and you can definitely tell big difference. This is the original, all beat up, and here's the replacement. Looks a lot better. And even if you don't get it perfect, it's still better than what it would have been with it all beat up, even if you can't get everything to line up perfectly. So anyways, that's going to conclude this video, and as always, I thank y'all for watching.